Welcome back to Relationshit. It is your host, Kamie Crawford, and today I am here with the Sarah Nicole Landry, the Bird's Papaya, host of the Papaya podcast. I just want you to know that as soon as we posted that picture at that event the other night, I got so many DMs.
No.
Oh my God, yes. They were like, Kamie and Sarah, this is the duo we want to see.
Yeah, people were very excited that we were together. I think I always just forget how small the world is and how excited people get when it like merges in these little ways, because we're living in literal pockets for them, but like pockets of their heads too, right? And I get excited about it too whenever I see people podcasting together or like at it. It's just so exciting.
Yeah,
it makes it very exciting,
especially when obviously plenty of people listen to your podcast. A few people listen to mine. Thank you for people listening. But like when you feel like you know someone because you hear their voice every single week and you follow them, so you're invested in their life. Seeing people that you like following and that you like enjoy as people coming together feels like the Avengers assembling.
It does feel like that's exactly how it yes. No, I 100% agree. And I always feel apologetic that people have to, I apologize to Nick, our producer, all the time. I was like, sorry, I have to listen to my voice again. But even like my own Instagram stories, I'm one of those, like I overstory. I think the last 2 years brought it out too much for me because I wasn't leaving my house and I was like, this has to go somewhere. And so if it doesn't look like a trail of ants at the top of my stories, people are like, are you okay?
Is everything
fine? But that's like, I have to listen to it on silent. I can't even listen to my own voice. I can't listen to my own podcast back. Like I'm really bizarre with that. But I love podcasts. I love when worlds merge together. I love that it's brought so many people having like these intersections of conversation. It's just the best. Yeah. It just like warms my little soul.
And it's so easy. Like, I don't know, were you podcasting before you started the Papaya podcast?
And I was like very adamant that it would only ever be in person because there's something so magical about like sitting like eye to eye. Like, I haven't done this in so long. Yeah. But like actually having these like moments with people. I think in our world we're so... I don't do my makeup without picking up my phone 3 times. There's something so immersive about recording a podcast and you escape from the world for like just half an hour, however long it takes. But the same with listening to it, because whenever I'm listening to podcasts, I'm usually driving. And so it's this very immersive experience and it's non-reactive. It's one of the only spaces that everyone's listening and then there's people talking. And so even if you're not actively agreeing with somebody or you're not like, you don't maybe align or you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about, I've never experienced that before. Yeah. You sit and listen until it's over, and that part's really, unless I guess you change the channel. Right. But essentially, like it does create this like bubble environment where you get to know people in a really intimate level. It's almost like leaving voicemails. You know how like, do you know how terrifying that used to be? And you're like,
God.
You could listen back.
Leave a message after the beep, and you're like, oh, fuck.
And you would go and review it again and again to be like, did I come off okay? Did this sound okay? It is kind of like that with podcasting. It's so vulnerable because you're not like on Instagram, you get to like delete something if you don't like it. You get to review and like edit things out. And podcasts are just such a special space.
I love it. I've been loving it. I'm trying to figure out though where you find the time, because in addition to you being a podcast host, you're an author, you're a content creator, and you're a mom of 4.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it sounds like a lot.
It is.
And I always feel like I'm not doing enough. Isn't that funny?
What's your sign?
Capricorn.
That's why.
Oh, see, I always feel like I identify with a Sagittarius, but I'm a Capricorn.
How do you identify?
I don't know. There was whenever like those memes come up and they're like Sag and I was like, I'm not a Cap. I'm not like a type A personality. I'm very like fly by the seat of my pants. I never plan a podcast. I never plan an Instagram post. I never plan almost anything. Like that's why I think my content has just become so day-to-day journalistic to my life. But yeah, it is a lot. There's always something going on, but I always feel like I'm chasing like as if I'm still always climbing. I don't know that I'll ever feel like I've reached anything or that I've ever done enough. It's probably problematic, but it probably also drives me into the career I have today. Yeah. Who knows, right?
But I feel the same way because, when you meet people and they're like, oh my God, like you're doing everything I would love to do. Like you've made it. Like I've heard that a lot recently from people. They're like, girl, you've made it. You've done it. And I'm like, like I've done a lot and I'm grateful and I'm excited and I'm happy, but I still have personal goals that I want to reach. And like where you are could be somebody's own personal goal, but I have other goals that I want to reach and I haven't gotten there yet. So I'll let you know when I made it.
Yeah. And you know, there's the flip side of it too. It's like your personal goals. There's like that, you know, like the little yodel guy on Price is Right. And you see him like going up and he's going up. And there's like a meme of like a yodel guy and he's like, here's the mountain he's climbing, but like, here's how big it is. And I don't know why I make it the yodel guy in my head, but that's who he is.
Shout out to the yodel
I'm
guy.
the yodel guy. Like, I don't know where it stops. And so I remember when I hit like 1 million followers on Instagram, and it was like 12 years into my career. And so I went from being like this really small creator and like slowly chipping away at like making it something, and I hit 1 million, and I just thought, this is going to be the moment that everything is going to feel satisfactory. Like, I've done it, I've made it, I've gotten there, I've done the work. This is like now where I get to just take the ride. Yeah. And it was maybe 5 minutes before somebody said, I wonder if you'll hit 2 million by the end of the year. And I was like, it never gets better. And then I ended up talking to somebody who was a musical artist, and they had like #1 hits, and I'm like, how long do you actually, like, you don't get to live on a #1 hit forever. You get a #1 hit, and then it's immediately, when's the next happening? When's it next? It's never enough. So you kind of have to find what is your enough and like keep doing that. So I wouldn't, as much as there's like this part of me that is chasing a bit of a people pleaser mentality or like wanting to have the success, I also am like, I really have to be stable and good with like who I am and like what my life is. And the fact that I'm not this like polished creator, I'm always going to be a little bit gritty. I'm always going to have a little bit of imposter syndrome in everything I do. And like, that's gonna, like, I overthink everything to like the nth degree. Like, it is who I am, and I have to just kind of own that part of it and not ever feeling like, I know it's never gonna feel like enough, so I have to find ways to be enough.
Yeah, no, 1000%. That makes so much sense. And that's why it's so relatable for people who follow you, because your content is amazing. You've been open about literally every single aspect of your life.
I had shingles on my vagina, and I shared about it openly on my Instagram. I don't know how to turn off the tap.
It was only on your vagina, the shingles?
Yeah, I thought I maybe had like a dormant STI or something. Like, it was the worst timing of my life. I'll try and keep the story brief, but it is an epic one.
You unlocked a new fear for me.
Yeah. So I went on a work trip, and I came home, and I got really sick, and I had all these like bizarre symptoms, like a fever, all of this stuff going on. And then I woke up with blisters all over my lady bits. And so here I am, I'm in the bathroom. I've been in there for like 30 minutes at this point. I've taken a little compact mirror. Something's going on. I have a new husband. I'm very newly remarried, very new. And this is both of our second marriage. And I have just come home from a work trip, and I have blisters on me. And I now have to get out of this room, and I have to go face my husband and somehow, even within the trust that we have in our relationship, convince him that I've not done something.
Oh, you're better than me, because I would have 1000% been like, you gave me something. What did you do?
I trust him too much. It's you. I trust him too much. So I come out, and I was like, something's going on. Like, I don't know what's going on. And in the time I was in the bathroom, I was like, can there be dormant like STIs? And it was like, yeah, they can live in your body for like a long time. So I come out, and I was like, I think I have like a dormant something. I swear I didn't do anything. And he was like, it's fine. It's fine. He's like, let me look. And he's like, you just got to get to the doctor. We're going to figure it out. It's all going to be okay. And so I was like, okay. So I get to the doctor, and of course I'm explaining to her, okay, listen, I'm pretty sure I have a dormant STI. Please confirm this for me. Please, let me go home with the doctor's note. She's like, okay, let me take a look. So like, okay. She like lifts up the thing. She's like, oh, you have shingles. And I got up on my elbows, and I was like, on my vagina?
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, you're the second I've seen this month. And then she goes, so that's good news, right? I'm like, yes, good news for that. Bad news that it's stressed. It's stressed. This is my second time with shingles. I had it when I was 8. It was stress-induced shingles, and it attached to a single nerve system in your body. So it can go anywhere. It can go from like your face, your shoulder, I had it on my ribs when I was a kid. I just won the lottery, and I got it on my vagina. And so what do you do when that's happening in your life? I now have active shingles on my vagina. I couldn't help but tell people, I have shingles on my vagina. Yeah. So when we talk raw and real, like, I can't help myself.
Okay. This is not what this episode is about at all, but this reminds me of the time when I got strep in my butthole.
No.
Yeah, I talked about it.
When you give birth, they swab you for strep in your butthole.
You can get strep, for anyone listening, because people are probably like, what the fuck? Shingles on my vagina and strep in my ass? Yeah. 1000%. can happen. Okay. I thought I was an outlier. I'm not. So basically you can get strep in your throat, as we know. You can get it on your skin and you can get it in your butt. I had newly started dating someone. And of course, you know, we're sexually active.
Yeah.
Not really anything in the butt to my knowledge, but lo and behold, I had this like insane pain where I like could not even produce poop. It was literally just
like, oh my gosh,
blood and like pus. Sorry for anybody who's like,
no, we need to know.
But, like,
these
we have to talk
things.
about these things
we
because
do.
I had no idea. I thought that I was fucking dying. I was like, I have kidney failure, liver failure, dying, 1000%. So we just like stopped having sex, and he was like, "What is going on with you? Like, what's happening? 1 second you're bouncing off the walls, and now like I can't even like rub your back." I'm like, something's going on with my butt, and I don't know what it is. Something's happening with my butt. I don't know what you did, or if it was me, or what happened. Lo and behold, I go to the fucking doctor. I had to get a colonoscopy at like 24 years old.
No.
Horrible experience. They make you drink this prep bullshit that's so
I've never
disgusting.
done one.
It's the most disgusting. It was the most degrading experience of my life.
This is why I'm so fascinated that people are like into colonics and they like love them. And I was like, we're opting to do this now?
No. Because also, I had to send in a stool sample before my colonoscopy. Try sending in a stool sample when you are not producing stool.
Oh, no.
Horrible. Come to find out, it was all because I ate fucking street meat in New York City. Because I was feeling nostalgic. I was walking home one day through Times Square, and I was like, well, I want some chicken on a stick. So I got some, and it gave me strep in my ass.
You just won the lottery that day.
And see, shingles lottery.
Shingles lottery. Strep in the butthole.
Like, what?
People walk away with information from this podcast that will equip them for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
That when they are in the bathroom locking themselves in and Googling, they're going to be like, you know what? No, Kamie and Sarah once told me you can get shingles in your vagina and strep in your butt.
Yes. Yeah. I honestly, the only thing that I could find when I was Googling was Gigi Gorgeous had posted about her hemorrhoids, which she called like her hemis. And I was like, okay, I guess hemis could be cute for me. Like maybe it's a hemi. And I went to the doctor and she was like, it's not a hemi, bitch. Something else is going on. And it was strep. And that was that. Well, I guess this is what this podcast is about, because it's about body image. And like, this is a part of it.
This is a big part of it.
The more that we just own the weird shit that happens with our bodies, the better. Because then we can actually talk about it and not be like, everybody's so weird.
We are so weird about so many things. And what's fascinating about it is the older we get, the weirder it gets. And there's got to be a reason that people in their 80s have the most liberated sex lives. And I think it's because they're like, weird shit happens and we're all going through it. And the less we try and hide and pretend that we're like these perfect entities, that life doesn't make an impact or like scar itself on our skin, or we don't have things like vaginal shingles and strep in our butt, the better we're gonna be. And that's like true intimacy, and that's where like good stuff happens. I feel.
I'm
sure
totally
my husband
agree.
would greatly disagree with this to some regard.
It's like, can we not
have these conversations?
No, we have to.
Yeah,
we have to. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way. But I love how public you've been about just like even your body journey. And I think body positivity is a word, or words that get thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But I think we also don't acknowledge how toxic the body positivity movement can be for some people.
For sure.
And I just want for you to like share kind of what your journey was like with your body. I know you had your first baby at 21.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, now you're 37, you still look like you're 21. So I'm just...
God bless you. God bless you for that.
Trying to figure out
I do try.
what the tea is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember life without body image issues. I just don't. And I was always the bigger girl in class. I remember like gym class in high school, and you got like weighed in front of your friends. Like there was so much like traumatic shit that went down when we were kids, like truly children. I have to remind myself, like my teenage self was a baby. Like I was still a child, and I think everyone has that moment in their life where they were criticized for their body by somebody, and it becomes like this core memory that changes who you are. I remember the exact outfit I was wearing when somebody criticized what I looked like coming home from a vacation, and they said I must have eaten too much. And I remember that I was wearing like velvet purple corduroy pants and a daisy shirt and jelly sandals. Like these become like these mini traumas in our mind, and we start building upon them. But we build upon them in a way that's like constantly escaping, or we're seeking safety, right? We're seeking, it's not just about like finding worth in this world, and like it's wanting to be safe as well, because we see how the world treats fat people. We see how awful it is for them. And I ended up, I got married at a very young age. I got married at 19. I was pregnant at 20, had my first at 21, got pregnant at 22, birth at 23, pregnant at 24. My third, my son came when I was 25. So I was finding a lot of identity in a pregnant body. Was the first time I ever felt safe and welcomed in society. If I'm going to be honest, it was the first time I felt this permission slip. You could eat what you wanted. People were constantly complimenting me on my glow, how I looked. I was the chubby girl growing up. I didn't get these kind of compliments. I got the, you have a really pretty face my whole life. Like that was what I had, right? So I had these 3 kids and I was like doing this social media thing, like really gritty. I was just like blogging from my home and I was well over 200 pounds and we moved home to my hometown. And I remember just feeling so terrified to run into people from high school because I was like, I'm 3 times postpartum and I'm so excited about these kids, but I'm not pregnant anymore. I've now lost this like societal acceptance to like eat whatever I want, be cute and all this stuff. And we didn't have very much money. So I moved home and through a series of events, one of them being that somebody posted a picture of me on Facebook that really upset me because I thought I looked really big in it. I decided to do what so many people do when they don't have access to like proper information or they're just truly trying to find love for themselves. And I went on my quote unquote health journey, which was downloading an app that told me to eat what a toddler should eat in a day and working out every day. That became 2 times a day. That became 3 times a day if I had too big a meal. It became very obsessive, but it put me back into the pocket of being celebrated by people again. Everyone was excited for me. I got to walk out of the door. People compliment me all the time. And I also got to shop in places that I never got to shop before. I felt really good and I started documenting it on social media and I got like a major following. I ended up losing I lost 100 pounds was like the benchmark thing, but like I got all this attention in the media. I ended up on like the cover of a magazine. That magazine, people didn't even realize it was the first time I ever came to LA. Like it was such a big deal. Like I was whisked to LA. I got this like, I didn't eat for a week leading up to it. And then I show up on the set, like, please have nobody find me out, essentially. I knew at this point I'd tipped over to the other side where this was not a health journey. This was a restricting of my body, which was also restricting my entire life. My entire intention of doing this was because I wanted to be more present in my kids' lives. I wanted to have this like societal acceptance that I craved so much. And ultimately I wanted safety. I wanted to experience the world that other people seemingly were experiencing. And you kind of get there and, you know, there's the part of me that was like, yes, this is amazing. And then there's the grief of, I've always fucking been here. Like everyone sees me now, but I've always been here. Yeah. Nothing about me except for my body has changed. And that was an ongoing like trauma. That was an ongoing sadness. And I think is something that to this day, I will never forget and has caused me to really focus on the bigger picture as well in terms of understanding marginalized bodies. Because while I am not still, you know, I'm not in my 200 pounds, I'm not like at the size 0 that I was, and I've allowed my body to rest where it needs to rest. I can't forget that. I can't move forward from that. And, you know, the body positive movement was actually essentially an activist movement for fat Black women to kind of liberate them. And it got co-opted in a lot of ways for certain things, but it got more and more thinner bodies and more white. So I really have to own the fact that like while I have moved through some of this and I've become a face of a lot of different things in terms of like postpartum acceptance, and I mean, I went viral for my stretch marks. That was the big thing. And there's like these pockets of it. But I also have to say, like, the activism part aside, positivity around my body was probably, it just felt like another thing I was going to fail at. It didn't feel like I was ever going to get there. I was chasing it by being thin. I just wanted to be thin, to be happy in my body. I'll be completely honest, at my thinnest was the hardest time to leave the house.
Wow.
I was more anxious about my body. I didn't want to go. The whole point of this was to live my life more and to like be more accepted. And I got obsessed because I was so scared to leave the house. I was so scared that who I looked like online wasn't enough for who I was in real life. I was face tuning to make myself smaller all the time. And I look back on those photos and I'm like, oh, that's so scary that I really didn't feel like enough at that size. And you start to understand how disordered our minds can be because of, you know, what diet culture has created for us, what being a woman has been like. And I try and remind myself all the time, like, and especially women who are struggling, like, it's okay that you are struggle with fat phobic thoughts. It's okay that you're struggling with, you know, wanting to lose weight and not trying to rectify why we want that.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. We've been so conditioned and so saturated with this idealistic person, and we're just slowly chipping away at that now. It's only been like 4 years of mainstream conversations and like through a lot of like really powerful women doing major movements of work to get us to understand that like we were never designed to look the same.
Yeah.
We were not meant to all eat the same, look the same, be the same body. Like that, it's so impossible. So the more that we kind of chip away at that and have these bigger conversations, the more I guess for me, my hope being the more we get to show up and live our own individual lives.
Right.
Without having like these pockets of acceptance where it's like only if you're thin, only if you're pregnant, only if you're serving the world in this way. It's no, you get to ebb and flow. You get to do it. You can wear the bikini, you can wear a one piece, you can wear a full muumuu to the beach.
Yeah.
Did you show up? Did you get to live your life? Did you get to have intimacy with your partner because you wanted to and because your body is worthy of that pleasure? Like we kind of we overconvince ourselves that we're not worthy of any of that. So I guess within all of it, to kind of wrap it up, I've really just aligned myself of being incredibly neutral about my body, but also celebrating it and just like allowing myself to live life.
Yeah. Because it's an active unlearning that we have to do. Like I remember post-pandemic when things opened up for the first time, I ran into this woman and she had the most fabulous outfit on. I had to come over and compliment her. I was like, oh my God, you look incredible. Like I haven't seen people in months. And like this outfit is just giving me life. I was like, oh my God, I love it so much. And she was like, thank you. She was like, you know, I just feel really like big. Like all I wear is sweatpants now. Like I just feel really like, and she was just like complaining about her body. And my first instinct was to be like, oh no, like, no, you don't. And then for the rest of the day, all I thought about was the fact that I said, oh no, instead of you look amazing.
Yeah.
Why do we in our minds immediately go when someone says like, oh, I look fat or I look big or
that
whatever,
it's negative.
that it's negative, you know? And that was me checking myself like, you know what? I wish I would have done that differently. I'm sure that maybe in the moment that's what she wanted to hear, but in the bigger scope of things, how can we reframe our own mind frames and how we respond to things like that?
Yeah.
So that we can actually step forward in a different direction.
Will we view fatness as a lack of safety and a lack of acceptance? If you go on an airplane or any type of transportation, so much of the world, even as much as a chair that you'd sit at a table. One time on Instagram, I was talking about, you know, trying to choose different chairs for my dining room table, and one person wrote and she goes, as a fat person, I would highly encourage you to have something without arms because that is often a very stressful moment for us because we know we can't fit into that chair. And I was so grateful for like, you have to know these things. We have to create better understanding for each other. We have to remove this idea, but also acknowledge how society is and how it is shaped. The fact that airplanes do have a seat a certain size and that, you know, going through the world in a different type of body or a marginalized body is an entirely different experience, while also identifying that like we do equate being larger as being less safe or being less accepted. And the more that we create more safety and create more acceptance for those in all bodies, the more that we actually free ourselves as well. We free ourselves from like that fear of being ousted by society. But I think that the pandemic was the first time a lot of people came into like their first, you know, postpartum pushes you through like a massive body change. But people coped with the pandemic in so many different ways. And it was the first time that a lot of people had to deal with change in their body that way. And had to reemerge or have their body so connected to their mental health that when it was struggling, their body looked different, their body reacted, and that became like a negative thing instead of like, wow, we are surviving. Your body is carrying you through this. How freaking incredible is that?
Yes. And however that looks. I mean, for me, I started my fitness journey during the pandemic at some point. Really just because I felt my knees were like painful, like everything with my knees. I couldn't even walk around because I felt like my knees were carrying all this weight. And I had a chiropractor who told me that I need to lose weight. And I was like, fuck you. And then
that's always their answer.
And then I was like, okay, well, I guess like that's probably a good idea. So I started my fitness journey. And it was the first time in my life where I actually fell in love with fitness, where it was connected to my head, my heart, and my body all in one, and not just my head being like, you have to go to the gym because you have to be prepared for this, and like you have to. It wasn't like that. It was like, I want to just feel good today. Let me go like move my body around.
We definitely have to separate so many parts, like facets of, you know, diet culture really co-opted things like fitness and took it from us, and wellness categories really came in and assaulted us. They became predatory. Fitness is for everybody. Fitness is a mental health journey. Fitness should be something you enjoy doing and moving, and it shouldn't be something that is because you feel you have to, or because you feel like you need to create safety for your body. That should never be the reason. That's not fun.
No, it should be for fun. And even though sweating, I hate sweating. So like, I don't even fucking like working out, but I like how I feel afterwards. And
that's the key.
It's interesting though that now, like, I guess my body has changed. I haven't really noticed because I've just been living my life, and I've still been eating what I like, but I've been actually pouring into my body more. And now when I post things, like for instance, I just shot Sports Illustrated, which was a big thing. Very, very exciting.
Yes.
And of course I got a bunch of different comments that were like, oh, we're so excited for you. Da, da, da. And then there was this one comment from someone that was like, oh, so that's why you've been losing weight. And it's like, why do we have it in our minds that we have to lose weight for certain things? Sports Illustrated never asked me to lose weight.
No.
I got the call for doing that shoot a month before I did that shoot.
Yeah,
I started my fitness journey over a year before that. So,
and we have to let people change in their size without it being a conversation. Where the media is very big on like, let's make it headline news whenever somebody's body changes.
Adele loses, body transformation, looks incredible.
But then she
Rebel Wilson. It's like...
And then Adele talks about it, and she was like, I was going through divorce and I was coping. And I was going to the gym to cope. I'm not here to be your poster child. Like, I can't be that for everybody. So we really do need to release people having to stay a certain way and start. I mean, I do this reminder for myself all the time whenever I'm struggling in my own value system. But when you think about the people you love and why you love them, their body just doesn't land on the list. So when you love somebody, they're going to ebb and flow. Their body is going to look different throughout so many chapters of life, and we're going to look different throughout so many chapters, and that is on both ends of the spectrum, right? I think that's the one thing that people get like, you look like you lost weight, but I thought you were like body confident or other. Like, why did you lose weight? It's like, I don't know. I don't even step on a scale. So
I don't even own one.
I have one for my luggage, but
that's a good place for a scale.
Yeah. But like,
that's a good reason.
It's just one of those things where I'm like, it's so funny that we're still, even as you're exiting from trying to find that value, people will still value you, positive or negative, for gaining or losing in either way. People will really try and mirror their own experiences, and it's just one of those things that's where you have to really start getting very big on validating yourself and like really knowing your own truth with stuff and owning that. Yeah,
because it can be so toxic. Like
so toxic.
I honestly, I'm sure you can agree, like having supporters that ride for you as hard as they do, good or bad. Like someone had, tried to give me what they found to be a compliment, which was like, oh my God, you lost so much weight. You look so skinny. You look amazing.
Yeah.
And one of my other supporters came in and was like, you do know that it's okay for you to compliment her without commenting on her body.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes. Right?
Whoa.
But as women, we recycle the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Like, we can complain about the patriarchy all we want. We can complain about society and diet culture. We have to stop recycling it to each other. We have to stop putting it on each other and stop using that as like a way to compliment somebody. As soon as you have a baby, people love to use this line. You look like shit. Like, not that you look like shit. You actually are like a beautiful specimen of human. But you also probably smell like piss and puke, and you might actually have that on you. And people are like, oh, you look so amazing for just having a baby. No, you just look amazing. Stop having it for just anything or for having kids, or you look so amazing for being in a bathing suit, like, or you're so brave for being in a bathing suit. Just stop.
It's the bravery for me. It's like, oh my God, you're so brave. But for other people, it is bravery.
Right. Like, it's so wild that would be a courageous act. But I also understand that for some people, being in a bikini is like almost defiance to society if you don't look one way. Whenever I'm really struggling and I'm like, am I allowed to wear this? I just pretend in my head that I'm like a white man with abs, and I'm like, I would wear that. I would take this selfie. I would do it shirtless and I would have my pants undone.
Yes.
And I would fucking rock this, and I would post it immediately without giving a shit.
Absolutely.
So I kind of have to channel that person sometimes, right? You have to remember who we are in this world.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so true. Oh my God. I feel like I could literally talk to you about this forever. But I also have, our listeners who
so excited
have questions.
So excited.
But I'm like, I'd rather just talk to you. But okay, guys, I'm getting to it. I promise. Okay. So this one we actually got a lot for. A lot of people wrote in because a lot of people are struggling, which we all know. We all are. And by the way, like, even if you're listening to this, it is a conscious effort to be confident with yourself. Like,
I'm struggling.
Everyone is struggling. Nobody just wakes up and is like, oh,
no.
Perfect every single fucking day.
Feels great.
Yeah. No.
That's not a thing.
No.
Stop chasing that.
No, it's not even fucking realistic. So, like, let's just throw that right out the window immediately. Okay, here we go. The first one. All right. This person wants to talk about postpartum body image. They said, it's something I struggle with every day. I had 4 kids in 6 years. My youngest is 5 months old. After 4 C-sections, improper postpartum recovery support, extra fluid during pregnancy that caused me to have a large stomach, I now have a body I don't recognize and a stomach that I don't know what to do with. It affects so many aspects of my everyday lifestyle and what type of person I want to be. I'm willing to open up and share my story. I don't hear much about postpartum women discussing apron belly publicly, and some of the body issues I have I could only get information from on small mommy type forums online. So any advice is needed, and probably way better than my OB, who told me the only way to fix my stomach and insecurities is through surgery.
I have an apron belly, so this is like
what is an apron belly?
It's when it actually again, the patriarchy always wants us in a fucking apron, but it's when when your belly, C-section moms especially know this, because the way that when it cuts and you're sewn back together, it causes like a fold. It causes it to actually hang over, so there can be like a flap. Oh, mine is like a half an apron, so the one side has the flap, but the other side is a little bit smoother. But it's an overhang of belly, right? Some people call it a fupa. It's not actually a fupa. It's just an overhang of belly. It is like you've stretched out the balloon and now it's retracted and it hangs a little differently. It's incredibly normal, but it's not very much seen. It's not often like a big conversation within postpartum. We have to also remember a lot of our reflections of postpartum are these like 9 months in, 9 months out photos. Nothing wrong with that. We should always be celebrating women in their bodies, and no matter what that looks like. But so many people, and myself included, we're kind of hiding. If you're proud of your postpartum body because it looks like it did before, that's one thing. You're allowed to have that moment, but there's not a lot of people proud of their postpartum body that doesn't look like it did before.
Right.
So it puts you into a bit of an identity crisis, and that was something I really had to own, in the fact that we're not taught to grieve properly. We're taught to just move forward, but the move forward is all about bouncing back. It's all about going back to who you were, instead of understanding that who you were is actually gone in many ways and has turned into somebody new. And there's this process. So you can't be like, just go and love your body. Look what your body did. You had 4 beautiful children, and this is how your body looks to show for it. Sure, that might help bandage the solution, but at the same time, it's okay that you need to actively and emotionally grieve that the person you knew yourself to be and became familiar with in the mirror isn't there anymore. Yeah. Grieving is just a processing tool. That's all it is. And I was, very active in the body acceptance and body confidence, and I had my 4th baby in the middle of a pandemic where I was pelvic rested, so I was not allowed to exercise. It was 11 years after my last baby, so my skin is a little bit different. It caused this overhang, and it was very, very difficult in a way that I wasn't ready for, but it put me back into the arena of understanding how difficult it is to be a postpartum woman in this world, and how do we build the tools to move forward. And there's a lot of, also, first of all, body autonomy, number 1, get a tummy tuck if that's what you want to do. I knew myself. I've gone down this path before where fixing the problem was fixing my body. So I know for myself that having a tummy tuck, because I don't get rashing, I don't get that kind of discomfort. So it's not a necessity for me. It would be a cosmetic thing, and I have every right to choose that. But I'm not going to, because I feel like it's trying to fix the problem by fixing my body. So I have taken the path of, all right, you know what? loving my body doesn't have to be a feeling. It doesn't have to be looking in the mirror and being like, yep, we got it today. Like, we've got it going on. It can truly be, love is an action. Anytime anybody's been in love, it's relationship. So there's shit in a relationship.
Yes.
I always say it's like socks on the floor, right? Like, there's so much of love is not butterflies in the belly when you wake up in the morning. It comes and goes. Sometimes you have those moments, but most of the time it's through daily action. It's like figuring out how to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically through this, and honoring who you are now and grieving who you were before. I'm a year and 2 months postpartum from my 4th child, my first time with an apron belly. And I went from going out in the hallways to change because I was ashamed in front of my husband, and ashamed, but also too tired to deal with it, like too tired to emotionally like have to figure out how to get through how uncomfortable I was, to now I'm like, I'm back to like, I don't give a shit. Like, it's just a thing. It's a very normal thing. And I'm not my body. I'm so much more than that. But also I'm not going to shit on my body for a very efficient, amazing job that it's done for 37 years. Not because it carried these 4 children, but because it's carried me. And it has never given up. It has been my partner through thick and thin, through so much trauma, through so much sadness and heartbreak. I can't shit on it anymore. I did that for over 30 years. I'm done with that story. How can I love it today? And it's not going to be a feeling. It's going to be an action. So, apron belly, first of all, you're not fucking alone. It's a very, very, very normal thing. I get so many messages about apron bellies all the time because it's just never ever seen. And it's also very, very okay if you want to wear the highest waisted shit in the world, because I love that too. If you have big boobs, you wear a bra. It's okay if you wear something to feel supported in your body as well, right? Like, accepting it doesn't mean you got to like rock it out all the time. It doesn't mean that like in the bedroom you're immediately going to feel confident about it, but you still deserve everything that's good and intimate and beautiful in this world, even with a body that shows for the life it's lived and the life it's given. There you go.
You just preached so fucking hard. I want to take all my clothes off and sprint around this office butt naked.
It's amazing how liberating. Like, I found through the process of sharing my body online, I'm like shaking whenever I do it. We're so ingrained to like, you have to look sexually acceptable to the world. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I am sexually acceptable. I am hot. I am the fucking shit. Like, I've done so much and I'm going to show up like that. Confidence is so beautiful, but confidence is such a choice. And the more I've shown up, like, I love the quote, like, once a secret is told, it loses its power. And I feel like a lot of us feel like our bodies are this big secret and we're walking around like, I need him to not know that I look like this.
And I'm the only one who feels this way, when in reality, that's just not the case. And I say that all the time, that confidence is an inside job, because I spent so much of my life letting everybody dictate how I felt about myself, whether it was my hair, my body, my skin, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
And one day I just fucking decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And is it still an active thing? Like, do comments still get to me sometimes? Does it piss me the fuck off sometimes? Because I'm like, you don't even know the kind of work that I put in to get to where I'm at now for you to come in with your side shit that nobody asked for, unsolicited?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, it's still annoying as hell. But at the same time, I know me, and I know that that is a vow that I made to myself at 13 years old, that was what I was going to do. And I thank my 13-year-old self and my 13-year-old body for making that decision, because she made the decision for the rest of the trajectory of my life and how I was going to go about how I felt about myself. But you still have those ebbs and flows. Like, there's still times when, you know, a comment, so that's why you lost weight, or, you know, oh, you got so skinny, you look so great. And it's like, just freaks me out. I don't like it. Like, we don't have to comment about each other's bodies. We really don't. We really don't.
I know.
Because there's so much more. There's so much more to talk about. I talk about way crazier shit, and I do way wilder, annoying, ridiculous, fun, exciting things than go to the gym.
Do you know how much women would do with their lives and in this world if our bodies weren't our main focus on everything we're fucking doing? We probably would have like healed the world of like a million things.
Yeah.
We're so distracted.
Yes.
We've been made to feel like that's the focus of our life, and it's just not.
No.
And it's almost been designed that way.
Yeah.
It's been designed to make us feel that way. We're designed to feel like, oh, am I aesthetically great enough to move through? Do you think that men wake up thinking that?
Absolutely
They don't.
not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
but then they also run the companies that make us think that we need to.
They do struggle with body image. I will say there is still like a lot going on for them, for sure, but not to the same degree we do, and not in the ways that it's intersected into everything we do, into our jobs, into our lives, into our relationships, into like everything.
Because a guy is not going to miss out on a job because he's overweight.
Exactly.
Like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, he's got to be less smart.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to happen. Oh, okay. I feel like we're running out of time, but I still want to do one more. You know when you're eating French fries and there's like one French fry left and you're like, I have to, one. But you're like, I have to eat it because I don't want it to be by itself.
Oh,
That's how I am with the DMs that we get. I'm like, I just want to read all of them because if I leave one, that's like one extra fry. Okay. How do you or can you fight the negative thought about your image around people that you believe look physically better than you? And how do you stop being jealous on the down low of how other moms who have babies and snap right back look?
It's okay that you feel jealous. I think we just need to like release ourselves from the shame that we potentially feel when we feel jealous over somebody else's body. Again, like this is a mass conditioning for us to feel that other people are more valuable than us for how they look. We also have to become witnesses to how much more valued they are because of how they look. I will say for myself, as somebody who got all of that praise and attention and got like the, mom of three, like you're a mom of three, like look you up and down, all of that kind of attention. It doesn't do them any good either. Like you see them being praised and we're almost reminding that woman or that mother that she is good in this world and she's accepted because of how she looks. We're conditioning her as much as we're conditioning ourselves in reading those compliments and being jealous. But it's also not our fault because, again, this is a mass conditioning for us to make a woman's body the most important part of her, right? So I have experienced a lot of jealousy over that. I had my baby alongside I was following so many women that was pregnant around the same time as me and had to watch them have a different postpartum experience than I did. I'm one of the rare lucky ones that when I breastfeed, I actually gain weight and I was very ready for that. I knew that was going to happen. And I also had to watch everybody else like lose weight and go through an entirely different journey and be praised for it openly. Like, you don't even look like you had a child. Like, wake the fuck up. It's okay that you look like you had a child. You did. Like, it's okay if you also look like you had a child and you didn't. Like, there's so much of this permission slip that we witness happening. But I think that what happens when you start to chip away at the why and you start to chip away at, for somebody who was really complimented so much for how I looked and being a mother, it did really set me up for like this need for being externally validated. I would almost compare it to like being high on a drug and you chase that high. You know that you need it. So you go after it over and over again. When I started to flip it into trying to figure out how to find more self-acceptance, which to be honest felt like a fucking farce. It felt like an impossibility. It honestly didn't feel real or even possible. It felt like taking a multivitamin. It was like you became, instead of chasing this high and this drug that kind of like surged you with acceptance and then bringing you back down to like earth, with a daily vitamin, it's like you don't get that high, but you get that daily intentional practice of self-validation and care. And that did more for me than the highs ever did. It didn't mean that there's no lows. It doesn't mean that there's no like some highs, but it essentially sets you on the track of like consistency.
Yeah.
And consistency leads to less time in the mirror. Consistency leads to less moments of sitting on the floor of your closet and crying and wanting to burn it all to the ground. It just leads to more and more of, how do I want to move through this world today? How do I want to show up and like, how do I remind myself that I'm just as worthy as this person that looks like this?
Yeah.
We have to remember that like we inherently are all born worthy. There is societal rankings. We cannot deny it, but you are inherently just as worthy as anybody else for how their body looks and shows through this world. And sometimes you just got to get that fire in your belly a little bit. And I will say for me, I won't say that I don't have bad days. Bad days exist. They happen. But what used to be like almost like a 3-day bender of a bad day. It's now like an hour. You get better. You learn what works for you. For me, it's very much wearing something that makes me not think about my body. So wearing something usually loose, very comfortable, something that's not distracting, and removing myself away from the mirror as quickly as possible. We teach our children to step away from a bully as quickly as possible. Like, you don't engage with the bully. And yet we stand in the mirror and we berate ourselves over and over and pick ourselves apart and why we're not good enough. Stepping away, wearing something that causes me to defocus on my body and move throughout my day, that's the best multivitamin I could give myself in a moment of struggle. And just kind of figuring out what those tools are. I can't say what they're going to be for other people. Those are some things that work for me. But yeah, at the end of the day, I get it. We're going to be jealous of other people. And that's a very normal, valid thing, and don't feel badly for it. Just recognize where it's coming from and like how to move past it and alchemize that into something better for yourself.
Amen. I always look at it as like, you only get one. Like, this is your one body. You only get one
chance.
We don't know what it's going to look like in the past life. You could be an ant. Like, you could be a fucking twig.
I think at this point I'm kind of like leading this life of the path of least regret. I mean, even we were at that event and we saw these people going up on the stage and like doing all these cool dance moves on like that spinny camera thing and like this 360. And it was every part of me was like, I can't dance. I can't do these things. I can't do that. And then I just thought about it. I'm like, I will regret if I don't get in there and do it. Like, I will regret it. And I know that. So this might not be a comfortable experience. I felt like a little cheesy getting up there, but you have to lead the life of the path of least regret, because when we're 80, we're not going to be talking about how good our bodies looked in our 20s and our 30s. We're going to be fucking talking about all the memories we made. So if we spend our lives hyper focusing on what our bodies look like and keeping ourselves home and keeping ourselves small, we don't get to live that life. We don't get to collect those memories. And at some point it kind of hits you. And for me, it's so traumatizing to think about, because for me, I lost out on my children's childhood. Not fully, like I was there, but I didn't do stuff with them because I didn't feel like I felt ashamed. I didn't want them to be ashamed of what I look like. I felt ashamed to be participating in things that I sidelined myself from something I never get to get back. We never get these moments back. And so with my baby this last year, I mean, I was at the biggest that I've been in the last like decade. And here I was like, I'm going to go in the pool with her. I have to take her to the beach. I don't get a chance at this again. So we have to kind of remember, like, what is that path of least regret? Because we really, truly only get this one shot. And so does that other woman too. So let's support her in making sure that she feels valued more than how her body turned out, even when it snapped back to a full whatever. And let's make sure that she knows how valued and beautiful she is, no matter what she looks like. And let's remember that for ourselves too, because we just deserve to make really good memories.
Yes. Oh my God, you're so right. And in your next life, when you come back as like a pigeon, you will have regretted not having done that photo booth or have been in the pool and doing all the things that you could do. Like, fuck it. Fuck it. Who fucking cares?
So true.
Who cares? Like, just fucking live.
Just live it.
Where can everybody find you?
Oh, that's a fun question. You know what? You're going to find me the most, like I said, I'm a overstorier. So you're going to find me on Instagram the most at thebirdspapaya. I am in my stories all the time. And also you can listen to my podcast at Papaya Podcast on Dear Media as well. Yes. I'm also on TikTok. Not great at it, but friggin' swinging.
I think you're doing great.
You know what? Like, who cares?
Who fucking cares?
Spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I agree.
It's a good time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Kamie Crawford, host of the Relationshit podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more videos, click below to subscribe and like this video for more Dear Media content. So shut up and listen.